Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to the Heart to Heart Journey to Love podcast. I am your host, Delay Bloomer. I know it's been a while, but man, this season we got so much to talk about, so much to get into, so much to dive into, especially relationships. And man, I got a very special guest, my new co host. Her name is Harlan Brown. Y'all give a shout out to Harlan Brown.
Hey, everybody. Happy to be here, ready to dive in and get it popping.
Yeah, so I think we do need to get it popping. It's been a long journey to get back to this space, and I missed it so much. But in the meantime, I had so much to talk about, so much material to give the audience, and today we just going to jump right into the topic. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. So today's topic is called "Mind Your Business." What you think
Mind,
about that?
mind your business. Let's
Yeah,
elaborate. Let's unpack minding our business.
of course, well, I want to get everybody started on the right path for the year. I know this is 2025, 2024 has been whether it was great for you, whether it was even kill, whether it was terrible, horrible, whatever. We don't use negative words here, Arlen Brown, on our podcast. So we always keep it positive. But I
Awesome.
wanted to give a word to the audience this year about the things and the steps that you need to have in order to get yourself prepared to have that journey to unconditional love. And I think that's the key. A lot of people just jump in and out of things before they fix themselves. So this particular year, we're going to dedicate the whole year fixing ourselves. Keeping it on us is what I always say. What do you think about that?
Good point. You got to keep it on yourself because that's where it begins.
Yeah,
It
and
begins with
and
you.
when you have that for yourself, and when you know yourself, and when you understand yourself, you can be better off in a relationship. Now, again, I'm just giving you alternative ways to think. I'm not telling you this is ironclad. I'm not telling you this is going to make your relationships better or worse or what have you. But it's just a stepping stone and just an alternative way to think how am I going to approach a new relationship. Some may be in a relationship that's ongoing. Some may just got out of a relationship. Someone maybe just got into a relationship. It's going to work, or it's going to give you more insight to yourself so that you can put yourself in a better position when it comes to relationships.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's
You
get it.
ready? Okay.
I'm
So the
ready.
first thing, I think when I went back to develop this, I came up with four things. I came up with the mind, the heart, the body, and the soul. Those four things epitomizes what a relationship is. I'm gonna say that one more time. The mind, the heart, the body, the soul. And I was gonna start with the heart because everything starts with the heart, and everything, if your heart doesn't work, heart is not going, you can't go anywhere. But I thought about this. Thought about this. We're probably engaging people who have already been in a relationship,
Hmm.
who are currently in a relationship, who wants to get out of a relationship, who wants to get in a relationship, in the beginning of a relationship. So we have all across the spectrum. But when we start with mind, and that's why I said mind your business, that's what the topic is today. We got to start with the mind.
Right, because it is the way you think about things. I mean, we can follow our hearts and everything and this and just be clueless to the reality, right? Because our heart sometimes clouds the reality of what we're stepping into because we just floating on you know, that heart vibe. And so it does take sometimes you just have to, step back and just think about it and be realistic and find those boundaries and the things that you want to do and what you really want and who you are in this, like what are you bringing in this. And I know a lot of people start with, "Oh, what are you bringing to the table?" If you can't bring your whole self to the table, then
Yeah. Yeah.
that doesn't help with building.
Right. And so that's why I really thought about this really carefully. And I want to start with the mind because the mind is always the mind. You got to think about something first, and then you follow it with whatever you follow it. Like you said, follow your heart, follow with this, follow this. But the thought has to come up first. So
Mhm.
I want people to think, I want to be in a good relationship.
Right.
I want to have a good relationship. So how do we do that, Harlem Brown? Well, I'm not even going to ask you.
Okay.
I got this, but
Okay.
you're going to
Let's
help
do it.
me.
I'm
Hopefully,
gonna
you can
help you,
help
but you
me
go ahead. You go
tell the
ahead.
audience all of this, right? So, the first thing I want to say is if you don't control your mind, someone else will. Let me marinate. Let me let the audience marinate on that for a minute.
Yeah, like sit in that. Let that sit in your spirit.
You know what I'm saying? If you don't control your mind, somebody else will. And what do I mean by that, late bloomer? I'm glad you asked, Harlem Brown. I believe if you don't control your mind in the way that you think, you're always going to get thoughts from other people, and that's going to control what you do.
Absolutely.
You're going to listen to your friends because I mean, I'm pretty sure we all got some close friends we listen to. You like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to do this, and they say, yeah, you go and do this, and you do this, you do that. And you say because you respect them and you trust them, but
But
when
you
you
can't
do,
do that all the time because you have to have because autonomy, you have to have that because you have to sit with yourself. You have to listen to yourself. You have to decide what you want because a lot of times you're influenced by what other people's opinions are, right? So people you may think one way, but after having that conversation with somebody else, and I always say like it's not a good idea, at least for me, to bring in a third party in a decision making session, right? Because I know me better than anybody else knows me,
yeah,
and then I know what I'm capable of doing and what I want, right? I can't let somebody else influence what I want. Like, oh, that's too much. Like somebody might think, oh, that's too much. Maybe you should scale it back a little bit. But then I'm scaling back on something that's important to me that, I'm going to suffer in the long run because I scaled it back when I really shouldn't have. I should have just been honest with me and let what I wanted be upfront.
yeah. So, but I'm gonna extend that.
Hmm.
Who's in the relationship?
Right.
Is your third party or the person that you trust and feel? Are they the ones going through the relationship?
Well, that's
No,
that's
they're
that's
not.
always my problem with that because it's always like, what my sister said or my mom said or,
Yeah.
my
So
brother
when you
said.
control your mind and when you control that mind, it's going to be exactly what you need to get where you need to go. And where's that, Lay Bloomer? I'm gonna show you. This is why we have this podcast, Harlem Brown. My
Let's
audience
do it.
is great. I love my audience, but I'm gonna read this to them because it's really important. And it's Proverbs 4 and 23. And it says, be careful what you think because your thoughts control your life. Now
Very
that
true.
one really has to marinate. Let me have that marinate and tell them one more time. Be careful what you think because your thoughts control your life. That's why I said mind your business. So when you're minding your business, you understand how you think and what you're thinking. You're putting in what you're thinking. That's going to control your life. That is going to control you to propel yourself to be in a better relationship, to have a better relationship, to understand a relationship. Because it's not just being in a relationship, because you can't control what the other person does.
That's right.
But if you don't mind your business, controlling your mind, what's that? And let me give these people some credit. I'm sorry because if you don't control your mind, someone else will. And that was Thomas Erickson, John Austin, and what Barbara Kruger.
Barbara Kruger. Yeah, Barbara
You
Kruger.
know, I got that from there because I don't want to steal anybody's stuff, saying that this is mine coming from the late bloomer. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due. But I thought that was a very telling um, statement because if you don't control your mind, someone else will, and especially in a relationship.
Yeah.
So How does that tie in with what we want to talk about, Harlan Brown? It ties in because minding your business and controlling the way that you think, it allows you to become self-aware of who you are.
Yes.
Okay. And the first thing that you have to do in a relationship is give yourself a clean slate.
Yes.
So how do we do
Definitely.
that? How do we do that, Harlan Brown?
Okay, well, I'm glad you asked me because I can give you what Holland Brown thinks is the best way to start doing that, and it's just by being honest with yourself and understanding you and what you want and what your boundaries are.
But even before you go there, we got to
Think right,
control
yeah.
and change the way we think. And why do we do that? Because I got another scripture for you. I
All
came locked
scriptures
and loaded today, Harlan Brown. I came locked and loaded. This
come
one
on with
I really
scripture.
love. It
Mm-hmm.
says, do not copy the behavior of the world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think.
That's right. You
I
have
got
to
to say
change the
that
way.
again. I got to
Do it
say that
again. Do it
again.
again. Do it again. Do it slower this time.
Do it slow.
Do it
Do
slower this.
not copy the behavior of the world. Did you see that? Do not copy what your friends are doing. Do not copy what you see other people doing in their relationships. Do not copy what you think is a good relationship. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. So do not copy uh, the behavior of the world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Even God is sitting there telling you, listen, let me have your mind. Let me have your mind, or let me help you control your own mind so that you're not thinking because of the way the world, the behavior of the world.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I got to bring that out because this is the most important piece in this relationship, this whole relationship thing, and that's controlling your mind. And the reason why I say that, Harlan Brown, is because this: you have to give yourself a clean slate. You have to give you have to give everything you're about to do when you go into a relationship a clean slate. You can't bring those other thoughts that you had about that other guy, that other girl, into this relationship. Why?
Mm.
Everybody deserves to have a clean slate. Now,
Right.
there may be some things that seems the same, looks the same, like, oh, my boyfriend did this before and he was cheating, or my girlfriend was doing this and I found out that she was cheating, and things like that. You can't go, you have to change the way that you think about that. You have to stop thinking that way. You have to give your mind a clean slate, a
Right.
clean way to think, because if you don't, then you're going to bring the same baggage that you had into the new relationship, or you're going to keep that baggage and have resentment toward the person you're in a relationship now, or you're just going to, because you are in a state of mind that's pitiful, that's dejected, that's tired,
That's
that's
broken.
broken, right? You got to change the way that you think. And that's why I was letting you know on this podcast, Harlan Brown, we only bring positive words into it.
Mm-hmm.
We only bring positive words into it. So changing the way you think helps you become self-aware of who you are.
Right. Right.
Okay. How do we do that, Lay Bloomer? Harlan Brown, I came locked and loaded this year.
Well,
I'm not
listen.
playing
Well, come on.
because
Come
I
with it.
want more
Come with it.
people to succeed in their relationships than not.
Absolutely.
I am not playing. So how do we do that? How do we do that? How do we become self-aware of what we of who we are? By changing the way we think. And the first thing we have to do is be honest with ourselves.
Right.
You saying right, but you think that's easy for people?
No, it's not easy, but you have to be honest with yourself. And I feel like with being honest with yourself, it comes with honesty with yourself comes with accepting you, all of you, right? Accepting everything about you, right? We have to debunk this thing of being like of where we have gone wrong in the past, right? We have to debunk all of that. Like we learn as we grow as we go on, right? So we learn as we grow. And as we do that, then we need to debunk all of the, oh, I didn't do this right the last time, or I didn't do this right the last time. But we need to really dig deeper than that and just understand where we were at that place and let it go. We have to start letting some things go, because I feel like a lot of times we hold on to those things and then we bring those things to other people. The other person is not necessarily understanding why, I get a reaction like this, every time I do this. Just be honest with yourself. And then a lot of times, instead of us wanting to admit that we're wrong or we're hurt, we'll just be like, oh, it's okay. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, it's
It's
not.
not, because you're compiling it and the pressure is going to hit sooner or later. So it's really not okay. Be okay with saying it's not okay.
Yeah. But again, you gotta be not, I mean, you gotta be honest, you gotta be truthful with yourself. I mean, to the core.
Yeah, you got to
Because
in
because
front
the
of yourself.
yeah, because the first thing that you think is that it was that person's fault.
No,
And I'm not telling you to take the blame, but I'm telling you to take the blame for you,
your part.
your part. And it's not even the blame. Just look at you, be honest, look in the mirror, and be honest and say, do I know who I am?
Right. That's
Do I
that's
know who I
awesome.
am?
That's awesome, because there is also a scripture in the Bible that says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I always say, do you love yourself? Like, how are you proving that you love yourself? Right.
No.
So a lot of people can say that, oh, I love myself. Oh, self-love. Yeah, that's great. But do you really love it? Do you love the
Yeah.
bad parts about you? Do you
Yeah.
love the fact that maybe you wake up in the morning and don't want to be bothered? Right? Do you
Yeah.
love all of that about you? Could
Yeah.
you be honest about that? Could
But a
you
lot of times
honestly
when
do
people
that?
say that, they say that to convince themselves.
That's true too. That's
And
true
we don't
too.
want you to convince yourself. We want you to change the way that you think and fully know who you are so that you can love yourself. And if
Right.
there's things that you find out that you don't love about yourself, change it. That's where
Change it.
that's the great thing about changing the way you think. Because now I can change who I am because I don't like who I see.
Right.
And you want to change it so much where when you do look in the mirror, you like what you see.
Absolutely.
That is the first key to the journey to unconditional love, Harlem Brown.
I totally agree. I
I
totally
would
agree. You gotta like you. You gotta like you.
I would like to hear the audience clapping on that. You know what I'm saying? Because that is
I
this
wish I
is
had a clapper.
but this is what I'm this is why I said I'm not playing this year. I want to let people know that it starts with you. It doesn't start with the other person. It
No,
doesn't start with the list that you have of what you need, what you want, what you have. You be who you are at all times, and everything else will fall in place. But
I heard a couple.
if you are not convincing of who you are and that you love yourself and being self-aware of who you are, how are you going to convince somebody else that
Exactly.
they need to be with you?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
and I know I need to move on, but I want to stay right there because being honest with yourself is. I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, oh, I don't. I like what I see, but I really don't like what I see. There are areas in my life that I can be better.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I thought was when my friends or anybody comes to me and say something, I want to be happy for them. I want to
Yeah.
be happy for them,
Genuinely.
genuinely,
Yes.
you know? And that took a lot of thought process to say, how can I make that happen? How can I make that happen? You ever thought about this? And I know I'm gonna go off a little topic because they know my audience know I go off topic a little bit because I'm all over the place. I tell them that, I really am. But I want to say this: it's so easy to tell somebody what they shouldn't do. And let me say that again. It's so easy to tell somebody what they shouldn't do. That's not right. And I'm gonna tell you why. And this is where it comes with the changing the mind, changing the thought. I used to, when people come to me and tell me something, they'd be like, man, I'm thinking about learning how to fly planes. The first thing I know, fly planes? Why you want to fly planes? Like, we don't fly planes. You know that ain't something that we do. They ain't gonna let you fly no plane. I just crushed somebody's dreams by doing that.
Right. Right.
So I had to change the way that I thought about that and become genuinely happy and support what they want to do because that was their thought.
That
And
was
I'm
their
going to
dream.
do
That
it.
was it could have been their calling. It could have been something that we didn't hear the message of what God told them that their next step was. They did, right? So because they're excited about that, they want to share it with you, but it's not for you to judge it. It's for you to encourage. It's for you to clap for them and to let them go and do the thing that they are passionate about doing.
And that's what we do in relationships. We crush dreams. We crush people. See how that works? But if I didn't change the way that I think, if I didn't change the way that I think, every time somebody come with me to something now, I'll be like, oh man, that's great. How can I help you? Because it's only going to help support, help stay positive, help do whatever. You can't worry about failure. And that's
No.
what we do a lot of times in relationships. So,
Yeah.
giving you something tangible to think about, stop thinking about your past failures. Stop thinking about you were in this relationship and it failed. It was my fault. I could have been there more for him. I could have talked more for her. I could have did this. I could have went to this to help them out. I could have did that. No.
Yeah. Take away that stigma
It-
of being wrong and take
it-
away that shame of making a mistake.
absolutely. Go for it.
Just do it.
Just be who you are. And if the person doesn't accept you for who you are, then that means that that relationship does not need to happen.
Right.
Because I'm not going to allow you from this podcast, Harlan Brown, I'm not going to allow the audience to send their representative. And I hope y'all know what I mean by sending your representative. You
Woo!
you come in when you meet somebody, you're putting a mask on and you're being somebody, you're not being totally you. That's your representative.
You being your
I'm
best,
just break it
your
down
best
really quickly
what you
today.
think is your best self for that person. You're
Yeah,
becoming that your best copy of yourself for that person to like. But
yeah,
after it's all said and done and that mask starts to slip, you can't hold it up anymore, right? Because you can only be you. You can only be a representative, but for so
exactly.
long. And I think that is a huge thing when it comes to meeting people and first starting to know people. Like, just be you,
Yeah,
because your representative is not going to be able to represent you throughout the whole relate. What if you get married? Like, you're gonna be married for 40 years and just be your representative? It's impossible. You can't do that.
yeah. It doesn't maintain. What maintains is being authentic,
Mm-hmm.
being you, being who you are. Think about this. When you are who you are and when you become who you are going to be, your whole demeanor relaxes. But when you have to send your representative, you're tense because you have to be on point and on. Hey, you gotta. I can't say the wrong thing because then they'll know it's not me. And you don't want to live your life like that. You don't want to be in a relationship like that. So I want to
No.
give them something. I want to give the audience something tangible to take home from this. And when I say be honest with yourself, write it down. Write all the things that you love about yourself. Write all the things that you don't love about yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
then start thinking about it. Thinking about, okay, I don't, I'm already cool with what I love about myself, but I can even make that better. But
There's
what, but what I don't love about myself, what are you gonna do?
Either you change it. I would strongly suggest to change it to a positive thing, but don't hold yourself hostage in it by saying that's just the way I am, right? Don't hold yourself hostage to it, because there's always room for growth. Um
Again, The
Sit
key,
in it. Sit
the
in it
key,
and be honest in it,
the-
because a lot of times we be like, you know what? I don't like I don't like that I could be a hater. I'm not gonna be a hater anymore, right? And then I'm just like, oh, I can celebrate you. And then I'm walking away like, oh, so she got a little job now, right? So you still a
yes,
hater,
yes,
right? You just present it as you weren't.
right,
But deep down inside, you got to sit in that and say, why am I feeling this way? Why am I reacting this way toward these things? And
yes,
once you get to the core of that, you can pull it out and be better. But you got to sit in it.
yes. And you got to do it. And again, let me read this one more time because there's some. It's so many key points in this. Do not copy the behavior of the world. We're not copying somebody else. We want to be who we are. But let God transform you into a new person. See, so when you are sitting down in that mirror, assessing and writing down, saying, man, who am I? Who am I? Who is the true me? And assessing that, as you change those things that you don't like about yourself, you're becoming a new person because
Yeah,
you're allowing God to do that for you because that's what you're sitting down for and you're thinking about it. You're controlling your mind so somebody else doesn't control it for you.
right.
You're thinking, and again, this is so loaded. Let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think.
Right.
So as you, because I want to give the audience something tangible to take home. I know our time is almost up. I told you we got locked and loaded. We are going to rock it this year,
So
and I'm
glad.
so glad to have you as my host because we're
I'm
going to
happy to
rock
be
it
here.
this year. And when I say you just sit, when you sit still and
Mm-hmm.
you're looking in the mirror and you're assessing yourself, and this is I'm giving you something tangible to do. Believe me, it works.
It
It
does.
works. Sit there, tangible. I can't. I'm never gonna tell somebody to be religious, whatever, whatever. Spiritually, I'm just reading about that's my faith, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring that up because that is my faith.
Yeah.
But when you sit still and when you assess yourself and when you become honest, not only honest but truthful. See that saying, "The truth will set you free." I don't know who said it, so I can't get no credit to it. But the truth will set you free.
That
You
is
become
biblical. That's
free.
in the Bible.
You become free.
You become absolutely free.
You become free, free of all the thoughts, negative thoughts of past relationships, free of all the negative thoughts of who you are. Because I'm pretty sure in a relationship, somebody might have said something to you to bring you down, to
Right.
tear you down, to make you seem like it was your fault, and you internalize that, and it's in
Right.
your thoughts. And think about this. That's why I said this is so funny. Because be careful what you think because your thoughts control your life.
Right.
So these are two things that we're bringing to you in this podcast to help you get started on that journey to unconditional love. And that's why I said, Harlan Brown, we had to start with think, the mind,
The
and
mind.
mind your business.
Right. And what other
Mind
people
your
and
business
stop worrying about what other people think.
at
That's not
all.
your business. What other
At
people think
all.
is not your business. And what other people may label you is not your business. Even if it was somebody who is close to you and they call you something, that's not you. You know who you are. You know who you are deep inside. So be honest with yourself and hold yourself to the truth that you have, that you know who you are. That all of that is to tear down confidence. And I don't really believe in being boastful, but I believe that God gives us a level of confidence in order to stand in his word, right? I call it Godfidence. I don't know, somebody might have coined that a long time ago, but that's always been my saying. Like, I'm not confident, I'm Godfidence, right? So I know that God is able to help me and pull me through some things. And he does allow me to sit still in my silence. And I do feel like sometimes I'm being reprimanded as I'm reading, but that's what I do. And I'm also a journal. So I love to journal stuff and I write stuff down and stuff come to my head. I write it down. And sometimes I might write down a thought and then it'll cause me to have another thought to just think about it. And now I'm what I call dumping. I'm dumping it out. And this is something that I'm dumping out for me to read and something I'm dumping out for God to hear, because that gives me the guidance that I need in order to get to the next step. Because sometimes you just get stuck, and we could be honest and say, I'm stuck right now. I don't know how to deal with that.
So I'm letting the audience know, Harlem Brown, if they're serious about really wanting to uh, have that journey to unconditional love with somebody and be in a healthy relationship. And again, that's why I call this podcast. I know there's other heart to heart podcasts out there, but I call this heart to heart because I want to have a heart to heart with you. Me and Harlem Brown just had a heart to heart with you. And if you're serious about, again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you an alternative way to think. And I've given you some really good information that can help you get there if this is what you want. Now, if it's not what you want, I understand, no problem. But I'm letting you know you can't start any relationship on, and I'm going to stand on this, if you are not right with you.
And that goes for everything. This right here that we're talking about right here applies to your work life. This
Everything,
applies to your friendships. This applies
everything,
to everything. If you
everything.
don't change your mind and have confidence in who you are, you're not bringing your full self to the table. And you are not living your best life because you're not living your full self.
Yeah, so I know we got to get out of here,
Okay.
unfortunately, but
All
we're
right.
going to continue this next week. I told you I got something for you. So your assignment for to this week is to just sit down, look in the mirror, see who you are, assess yourself, and be truthful and be honest and truthful about who you are. Write it down. Write what you like about yourself. Write what you don't like about yourself. And if you want to change, change. Change your mind. Because if you don't change your mind, somebody else will.
Right.
Okay, and I'm gonna leave you off with that. So, as I end all my podcasts, Harlem Brown, you might not know this. Trying to do something will keep you in the same place, but when you actually do something, your place has no limitations. I am the late bloomer. I have my
Awesome.
co-host Harlem Brown, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.